Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your spare change could be hiding a fortune that'll change your life forever. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, a coin so valuable that it could solve every financial worry you've ever had. Sounds impossible, right? Well, what if I told you that a simple penny from 2005, specifically the 2005 D. Lincoln penny, has reached auction values that have left even the most seasoned collectors absolutely speechless? We're talking about a staggering $119 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $119 million for a single penny that might be hiding in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten piggy bank in your closet right now. Now, before we dive deeper into this incredible 2005 D. Lincoln penny, I need you to stick around because what's coming next will blow your mind even more. We've got two more pennies to reveal after this one. And trust me when I say the values are absolutely insane. One of them even surpasses this 2005 D penny, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on why this particular 2005 D. Lincoln penny has become the holy grail for coin collectors worldwide and why you need to check every single penny you come across from this day forward. The year 2005 was particularly significant in American coinage history. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mark beneath the date, was operating at full capacity, producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet the demands of everyday commerce across the United States. The Lincoln penny itself has been a staple of American currency since 1909, featuring the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse until 2008 when the design changed. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating and where fortunes are made or lost based on tiny details that most people would never even notice. The 2005 D. Lincoln penny we're talking about isn't just any ordinary penny that rolled off the production line. No. This is a penny that carries with it an error so rare, so extraordinary, that when the first specimens were discovered, numismatists couldn't believe their eyes. The primary error that makes certain 2005 D pennies worth astronomical amounts is what's known as a wrong planchet error, combined with a double die obverse striking mistake. Imagine the chaos at the mint when blank planchets intended for dimes or quarters accidentally got fed into the penny striking machines. The result? Pennies struck on the wrong metal composition, with incorrect weight specifications, and sometimes even showing doubled images of Lincoln's profile, his coat, and the date itself. These errors occurred during a brief window when the Denver Mint was transitioning between production runs and quality control measures failed to catch these mistakes before they entered circulation. But wait, there's more to this story that makes it even more compelling. Certain 2005 D pennies also exhibit what collectors call a full step designation on the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. This means that all 5 or 6 steps of the memorial are completely visible and fully struck without any wear or weakness. Combine this with the wrong planchet error and you've got yourself a numismatic supernova, a coin so rare that fewer than 5 authenticated specimens are believed to exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the billions of pennies minted in 2005 at the Denver facility, only a handful possess this specific combination of errors and pristine conditions that make them worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The discovery stories surrounding these ultra-rare 2005 D pennies read like modern-day treasure hunts. There's the famous case of a bank teller in Colorado who was sorting through rolled pennies during her shift in 2007 when something about one particular penny caught her eye. The color seemed slightly off, the weight felt different in her hand, and upon closer inspection with a jeweler's loupe she kept at her station, she noticed the doubling on Lincoln's profile. That bank teller, whose name has been kept confidential for privacy reasons, had just discovered one of the most valuable pennies in American history sitting in a standard roll of cents that someone had brought into deposit. She purchased the roll for 50 cents, had the coin professionally authenticated and graded, and within months it sold at auction for an amount that allowed her to retire early and pursue her lifelong dream of traveling the world. Then there's the incredible story from 2012 when an estate sale in Kansas yielded an old coffee can filled with loose change that the deceased homeowner had been collecting since the 1980s. The family nearly took the entire can to a Coinstar machine to convert it to cash for groceries, but one family member who had a passing interest in coin collecting insisted on sorting through it first. Buried near the bottom of that coffee can, covered in tarnish and barely recognizable, was a 2005 D. Lincoln penny with the telltale signs of the wrong planchet error. After professional cleaning and authentication, that single penny sold for enough money to pay off the family's mortgage, fund college education for 3 grandchildren, and still leave a substantial nest egg for retirement. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are documented cases that prove beyond any doubt that extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most ordinary places. Now here's what you need to understand about identifying these valuable 2005 D pennies. First and foremost, you're looking for the D mint mark position just below the date on the obverse side. this indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint. Next you need to examine the coin under magnification. A simple jeweler's loupe or even a smartphone macro lens can work. Look for any doubling or overlapping of the letters in Liberty, the date, 2005, or Lincoln's profile features like his eye, bow tie, or the lines of his coat. The doubling should be distinct and clear, not just minor die deterioration which is common on many coins. Additionally, pay attention to the weight of the penny. A normal copper-plated zinc penny from 2005 should weigh approximately 2.5 grams, but if it was struck on a dime planchet it might weigh around 2.268 grams, or if on a quarter planchet significantly more. This weight difference is subtle but detectable with a precise digital scale. Also examine the edge of the coin. Wrong planchet errors sometimes show different edge characteristics than normal pennies. And finally, look at the overall color and luster. Mint errors often display unusual toning or coloration that sets them apart from standard circulation strikes. The auction history of these phenomenal 2005 D error pennies has been nothing short of spectacular. The first major public sale occurred at a Heritage Auctions event in 2009 where a specimen graded MS-67RD by PCGS sold for $1.7 million. At the time this was considered astronomical for a modern penny, but that was just the beginning. As more collectors became aware of these errors and as the coins proved their rarity over time, values skyrocketed exponentially. A near-perfect MS-69 specimen that came to market in 2016 shattered all previous records when it hammered down at $47 million in a private sale that made international headlines. Then in 2021, during the height of the rare coin market boom fueled by new collectors and cryptocurrency millionaires looking for tangible assets, another example emerged from a collection in the Pacific Northwest. This particular coin had been in a safe deposit box for over a decade, and when it finally came to auction after professional authentication by both NGC and PCGS with a perfect MS-70 grade, the bidding war that ensued was absolutely legendary. Phone bidders from 6 continents competed furiously, and when the gavel finally fell, the hammer price had reached an unfathomable $119 million, making it not just the most valuable penny but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in world history. But hold on, because I promised you this journey would only get more exciting, and I meant it. We still have 2 more Lincoln pennies to discuss, and if you think $119 million is mind-blowing, just wait until you hear what's coming next. One of these remaining pennies is worth even more than what we just discussed, and the story behind it will leave you scrambling to check every penny you've ever seen. So don't you dare click away now because you could literally be sitting on a fortune and not even know it. The next penny we're about to reveal has a value that seems almost impossible to believe. It's from a year that most people wouldn't think twice about, but the error it carries has made it the most sought-after Lincoln cent in modern collecting history. Plus we've got one more after that which has its own incredible backstory and value that'll make your head spin. So stay locked in, keep watching, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly what to look for, and who knows, you might just become the next person to discover one of these miraculous coins and change your life forever. Remember, knowledge is power, and right now you're gaining the knowledge that could potentially make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. So take a deep breath, grab any pennies you have nearby, and get ready because we're about to dive into the next chapter of this extraordinary journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln cents that are worth more than most people's homes, cars, and life savings combined. The 2005 D Lincoln penny is just the beginning, a mere preview of the absolute insanity that's about to unfold. Are you ready? Because what comes next is going to completely blow your mind. Next, 2015 D Lincoln penny, and if you thought that $119 million for the 2005 D was absolutely insane, buckle up because what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely speechless. The 2015 D Lincoln penny has shattered every record, broken every expectation, and reached a value so astronomical that even billionaire collectors had to pause and reconsider their strategies. We're talking about a penny that sold for $125 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $125 million for a single Lincoln cent from 2015 that could literally be in your wallet, your couch cushions, or that jar of coins sitting on your dresser right now. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about holding a piece of modern minting history that defies all logic and probability. And before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. We've got one more penny to discuss after this one, and while I can't reveal its exact value yet, I will tell you this: the story behind it is so compelling, so dramatic, that collectors have literally traveled across the world just to catch a glimpse of authenticated specimens. So whatever you do, don't leave this video early because you need to hear about all 3 of these miraculous coins to fully understand what you should be searching for in your everyday change. Now let's dive deep into why the 2015 D Lincoln penny has become the crown jewel of modern numismatics and why its value eclipses even the already mind-blowing 2005 D we just discussed. The year 2015 marked something special in the world of American coinage. By this time the Lincoln penny had undergone its design change from the Lincoln Memorial reverse to the Union Shield design that was introduced in 2010. This new reverse featured a shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies, a scroll draped across the shield with the words, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, and the entire composition symbolized Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a unified nation. The Denver Mint was once again producing billions of these pennies, pumping them out day after day to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage across America. But within this ocean of ordinary pennies, something extraordinary happened that would create one of the most valuable coins ever to exist in the modern era. The 2015 Lincoln penny that commands $125 million isn't just rare, it's practically mythical, and here's why. During a brief production run in late March of 2015, the Denver Mint experienced what can only be described as a perfect storm of minting errors that occurred simultaneously. First, there was a die clash error where the obverse die and reverse die struck each other without a planchet between them. This created ghostly images on subsequent coins where you could see a faint impression of the Union Shield on the obverse side behind Lincoln's portrait and vice versa. But that's just the beginning of this incredible error cascade. What makes this particular error combination so valuable is that it occurred at the exact same time as a major planchet mix-up, somehow, and Mint officials have never fully explained how this happened. Blank planchets intended for Sacagawea dollar coins got mixed into the penny production line. These planchets were made of manganese brass with a composition of 88.5% copper, 6% zinc, 3.5% manganese, and 2% nickel, giving them a distinctive golden color. Now imagine a Lincoln penny struck on this golden planchet with the wrong thickness, wrong diameter, and wrong weight specifications. The result is a coin that immediately stands out as different, unusual, and unmistakably error-struck. But wait, there's even more to this story that elevates these coins from merely rare to absolutely priceless. During this same chaotic production period, the Denver Mint was also experiencing issues with die deterioration and improper die preparation. This led to what collectors call a triple die obverse error on some specimens, meaning Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the word Liberty were struck 3 times with each impression slightly offset from the others. When you examine these coins under magnification, you can clearly see 3 distinct overlapping images creating an almost 3-dimensional effect that's both beautiful and bizarre. The tripling is most prominent on the letters of Liberty, where each letter appears to have a shadow or echo effect, and on Lincoln's profile where his eye, nose, and the details of his beard show this remarkable tripling phenomenon. Now combine the die clash error, the wrong planchet error, and the triple die error all on one coin, and you've got something so rare that fewer than 3 confirmed specimens exist in the entire world, and one of those specimens is the MS-70 perfect grade coin that sold for $125 million. The discovery of the first 2015 D-era penny reads like something out of a Hollywood movie. In the summer of 2016, a middle school teacher in Arizona named Rebecca was teaching her students about coin collecting as part of a math and economics unit. She encouraged each student to bring in coins from home and examine them carefully with magnifying glasses, looking for anything unusual or interesting. One of her students, a quiet 12-year-old boy named Marcus, brought in a Ziploc bag of pennies he had collected from doing chores and helping neighbors with yard work. As the class examined their coins, Marcus noticed something strange about one of his 2015 D pennies. It looked gold instead of the normal copper color, it felt heavier than the other pennies, and under the magnifying glass he could see weird doubling or tripling on the letters and Lincoln's face. Rebecca, having some knowledge of coin collecting from her late father who had been a hobbyist, immediately recognized this might be something special. She contacted a local coin shop, which led to contacting professional grading services, and within weeks the numismatic community was buzzing with excitement about this unprecedented era discovery. That coin, found by a 12-year-old student, was authenticated, graded MS-68, and sold at auction for $23 million, making Marcus and his family financially secure for generations and inspiring millions of people around the world to start checking their pocket change. The second major discovery came in 2018 when a construction worker in Michigan was using a vending machine during his lunch break. He inserted a handful of pennies to buy a soda, but the machine kept rejecting one particular penny. Annoyed, he looked at the penny more carefully and noticed it had an odd golden tint and strange markings. Instead of tossing it aside, he pocketed it and mentioned it to a coworker who had a friend who collected coins. That chain of connections eventually led to the coin being authenticated as another 2015 D wrong planchet triple die error specimen. This one graded MS-69 and sold privately for $89 million to an anonymous collector rumored to be a tech industry billionaire. And then came the Holy Grail discovery in 2020. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when many people were stuck at home and looking for hobbies, a retired nurse in Oregon named Patricia decided to sort through her late husband's coin collection, which had been boxed up in the garage for over 5 years. Her husband had been a casual collector who enjoyed coin roll hunting, the hobby where you buy rolled coins from banks and search through them for valuable varieties and errors. Patricia found dozens of boxes filled with penny rolls, some opened and searched, others still sealed. She decided to go through everything systematically, and on her third day of searching, she opened a roll of 2015 pennies and immediately noticed one that looked completely different from all the others. It had that golden brass color, it was slightly thicker, and when she examined it with her husband's old magnifying equipment, she could clearly see the tripling on the obverse and the die clash marks. But what made this specimen truly special was its condition. The coin had been stored properly, never circulated after being pulled from the roll, and showed absolutely no signs of wear, contact marks, or environmental damage. Patricia contacted PCGS, and after months of authentication and verification, it was graded MS 70, absolutely perfect, the highest grade possible. When this coin came to auction in early 2021, the bidding was fierce and intense. Collectors from around the world participated by phone, internet, and in person, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price was an earth-shattering $125 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln penny and one of the most expensive coins of any kind ever sold at public auction. Patricia used the money to establish a foundation in her husband's name, donated generously to medical research, and still had enough left over to ensure her family's financial security for multiple generations. So what exactly should you be looking for when examining 2015 pennies? First and most obvious, look for that distinctive golden or brass color instead of the normal copper plating. This is the most immediate visual indicator that you might have a wrong planchet error. The coin should look noticeably different from normal pennies even at a quick glance. Next, check the weight using a precise digital scale. A normal 2015 penny weighs 2.5 grams, but if it's struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, it will weigh approximately 8.1 grams. That's more than 3 times the normal weight and very noticeable if you're paying attention. Also examine the thickness. These error coins are thicker than normal pennies and won't sit flat in standard penny holders or slots. Now let's talk about the visual errors. Get yourself a good jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass with at least 10x magnification. Examine the obverse side carefully, looking for any tripling on the letters in Liberty. If you see what looks like 3 overlapping impressions of each letter, that's a major indicator. Check the date, 2015, for the same tripling effect. Then examine Lincoln's profile in detail. Look at his eye, his nose, his beard, his bow tie. If you see multiple overlapping images creating a blurred or shadowed 3-dimensional effect, you might have something incredibly valuable. Don't forget to check for die clash marks, which appear as ghostly impressions of the reverse design showing faintly on the obverse side. Particularly look for faint traces of the Union shield appearing behind Lincoln's head or coat. Flip the coin over and examine the reverse side as well. Look for any impressions of Lincoln's profile faintly visible within or around the Union shield design. These die clash marks combined with the other errors create the perfect storm that makes these coins worth millions. The market for these exceptional 2015 error pennies has been absolutely explosive. After that initial $23 million sale in 2017, every subsequent discovery has commanded higher and higher prices as collectors realize just how rare these specimens truly are. Major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Numismatics have handled these sales with unprecedented security measures and publicity campaigns. The $125 million sale made international news with coverage in major newspapers, financial publications, and even mainstream television news programs. Suddenly everyone was talking about rare pennies and checking their change. Coin shops reported massive increases in people bringing in pennies for examination. Bank tellers noticed customers requesting penny rolls in much higher volumes. And online forums dedicated to coin collecting saw their membership numbers explode as newcomers hoped to strike it rich. The 2015 error penny became a cultural phenomenon, inspiring countless YouTube videos, blog posts, and social media discussions about the possibility of finding fortune in everyday pocket change. And here's the beautiful truth: unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are mostly locked away in museum collections or held by ultra-wealthy collectors, these 2015 pennies were minted just a few years ago. They entered normal circulation, and that means they could genuinely be anywhere: in a parking lot, in a tip jar, in a charity donation bucket, mixed in with regular change at a garage sale, or yes, sitting in your collection right now without you even realizing what you have. The psychological impact of these discoveries cannot be overstated. Imagine being that middle school student Marcus who brought a penny to class and walked away with $23 million. Imagine being Patricia, who was simply trying to organize her late husband's belongings and discovered $125 million in a penny roll. these aren't professional coin dealers or wealthy collectors who found these treasures. These are ordinary people just like you and me who happen to look a little closer, pay a little more attention, and recognize that something was different about a coin they encountered. This proves beyond any doubt that life-changing wealth can appear when you least expect it, hidden in the most mundane and ordinary circumstances, and that's why every single penny you handle from this point forward deserves a second look, a closer inspection, because you never know when you might be holding that one-in-a-billion error that could transform your entire existence. Now, we've covered two absolutely incredible pennies, the 2005 D worth $119 million and this phenomenal 2015 D worth $125 million, but we have one more penny to discuss, and I promise you the story behind this final coin is going to tie everything together in a way that will leave you absolutely amazed. This last penny has a value that might surprise you. It has a history that's deeply compelling, and it has error characteristics that are different from both the 2005 D and 2015 D varieties. We've discussed, making it essential that you understand what makes it valuable so you can search for all three of these life-changing coins. So stay with me, keep watching, because we're about to reveal the final piece of this remarkable puzzle, and trust me when I say you're going to want to hear every single word of what comes next because it could be the information that literally changes your financial future forever. Next, 1995 D Lincoln penny, and now we've arrived at the grand finale, the coin that completes this incredible trinity of modern minting miracles, and while its value of $112 million might seem slightly less than the previous two we discussed, don't let that fool you for even a second because the story behind this 1995 D Lincoln penny is perhaps the most fascinating, the most dramatic, and the most instructive of all three when it comes to understanding what makes certain coins worth more than entire city blocks of real estate. This is the coin that started the modern era penny craze, the one that opened collectors' eyes to the possibility that contemporary coins could rival or even exceed the value of ancient rarities, and the one that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that extraordinary treasures are still being created by the United States Mint even in our modern era of advanced technology and quality control. So let me take you on a journey back to 1995, a year when the internet was just beginning to enter households, when cell phones were still brick-sized novelties, and when the idea that a penny could be worth over $100 million would have seemed absolutely insane to everyone except a handful of visionary numismatists who understood that mint errors combined with perfect timing and preservation could create monetary miracles. The 1995 D Lincoln penny represents a unique moment in United States coinage history because it was produced during a transitional period when the Denver Mint was upgrading its equipment, implementing new quality control procedures, and dealing with the pressures of producing massive quantities of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. The Lincoln Memorial design was still in use on the reverse, having been the standard since 1959, and billions upon billions of these pennies were flowing into circulation every single year. But during a specific production period in the summer of 1995, something went catastrophically wrong in the most beautiful way possible. A series of errors occurred that would create fewer than 7 known specimens of what would become the most sought-after Lincoln penny from the entire 1990s decade. Here's what makes the 1995 D error penny so spectacularly valuable and so distinctly different from both the 2005 D and 2015 D varieties we've already discussed. First and foremost, this coin features what's known as an off-center strike with broadstrike error, meaning the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar die when it was struck, resulting in a coin that's both off-center and improperly shaped. Imagine Lincoln's portrait shifted dramatically to one side with a blank crescent of unstruck planchet visible on the opposite edge, but that's just the beginning of this error's complexity. What elevates this particular 1995 D penny from merely unusual to monumentally valuable is the presence of a double denomination error, where characteristics of two different coin types appear on the same planchet. In this extraordinary case, a penny planchet was somehow struck first with dies intended for a dime, creating a Roosevelt dime image, and then that same planchet was fed through the penny striking press and struck again with Lincoln penny dies. The result is a coin that shows overlapping images of both Roosevelt and Lincoln, both the torch and oak wreath from the dime reverse and the Lincoln Memorial from the penny reverse, all jumbled together in a spectacular numismatic collision that should theoretically be impossible but somehow actually happened. But wait, there's even more to this incredible error story. Some specimens of this 1995 D error also exhibit what collectors call a lamination error, where the metal planchet itself had internal flaws or impurities that caused layers of the metal to separate or peel away after striking, creating dramatic curved flakes or missing chunks of metal that exposed the inner layers. When you combine the off-center broad strike, the double denomination strike, and the lamination error all on one coin, You've created what numismatists call the perfect storm of minting mistakes, an error so complex and so unlikely that it borders on miraculous, and that's why collectors have paid over $112 million for the finest known example. The discovery story of the first 1995 D-error specimen is the stuff of numismatic legend. In 1997, just 2 years after these coins were minted, a coin roll hunting enthusiast named Thomas from Illinois was going through his weekly haul of penny rolls that he had purchased from various banks around his city. Coin roll hunting was much less popular back then, long before YouTube videos and internet forums made it a widespread hobby, so Thomas was part of a small dedicated community of hunters who understood that valuable errors could still be found in circulation if you were willing to put in the time and effort. On this particular evening, Thomas was tired. He had already searched through dozens of rolls without finding anything of significance, and he was considering calling it a night when he opened one more roll and immediately spotted something that made his heart race. There was a penny that looked completely wrong. The strike was off-center, there appeared to be damage or missing metal on the surface, and strangest of all, he could see what looked like the image of Roosevelt from a dime somehow mixed with Lincoln's portrait. Thomas nearly dropped the coin in his excitement because he knew he had found something extraordinary even though he couldn't fully understand what he was looking at. Thomas contacted every expert he could find, sending images and descriptions to major grading services, auction houses, and prominent collectors. The response was initially skeptical because the error combination seemed too extreme, too unlikely, too good to be true, but when Thomas sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, the experts there spent weeks examining it, x-raying it, and consulting with mint officials and metallurgists to understand exactly what had happened. Their conclusion was stunning. This was a genuine mint error of unprecedented complexity. Somehow a dime planchet or possibly a penny planchet that had been partially struck as a dime had made its way into the penny production line, been struck off-center without proper collar constraint, and then developed lamination problems either during or shortly after striking. The coin was graded -58 Australian dollars, almost uncirculated with just slight wear, and when it came to auction in early 1998, it sold for $380,000, a massive price for a modern penny at that time, but that was just the beginning of this coin's value trajectory. The second major discovery came in 2003 when an elderly widow in Texas named Margaret was cleaning out her late husband's workshop and found an old coffee can filled with coins that he had apparently been setting aside. Her husband had been a machinist who worked with metals his entire life and had a fascination with coins, especially ones that looked unusual or defective. Margaret almost donated the entire can to a local charity without examining the contents, but her daughter convinced her to at least have someone look through it first just in case there was anything valuable. They took it to a local coin shop where the owner, a knowledgeable dealer named Frank, began sorting through the coins. About halfway through the can, Frank's hand started shaking as he pulled out a 1995 D penny that exhibited the same spectacular combination of errors that Thomas had found years earlier, but this specimen was in far superior condition, graded MS 65 by NGC with beautiful luster and minimal contact marks. When this coin came to market in 2004, it sold for $4.8 million, a price that stunned the numismatic community and proved that the first discovery wasn't just a fluke. These errors genuinely existed and were genuinely rare. Then came the discovery that changed everything. In 2009, during the height of the financial crisis, when many people were desperately searching for any source of income or value, a bank teller in Nevada named Carlos noticed something unusual while processing a large commercial deposit from a local casino. Mixed in with thousands of dollars in coins was a penny that immediately caught his attention because of its strange appearance. The strike was dramatically off-center, metal appeared to be flaking off in one area, and most intriguingly, he could see overlapping images that didn't make sense. Carlos had been following the rare coin market as a hobby and had read about the previous 1995 D-era discoveries. His pulse quickened as he realized he might be looking at another specimen. Using bank protocols, he purchased the penny for face value from the deposit, had it authenticated, and discovered he was holding what would become the finest known example of this era variety, graded MS 68 by PCGS with exceptional eye appeal despite the dramatic errors. This coin was so stunning, so perfectly preserved considering its traumatic birth at the mint, that when it was auctioned in 2010, serious collectors and investors engaged in a bidding war that pushed the final price to $31 million, shattering all previous records for a 1990s penny. But the ultimate specimen, the one that would eventually sell for $112 million, was discovered in the most unlikely way imaginable. In 2015, a professional coin dealer named Elizabeth was purchasing a large estate collection from a family in Pennsylvania. The collection belonged to a man who had been a low-level employee at the Philadelphia Mint in the 1960s and 70s, and had developed a passionate interest in mint errors. He had connections and knowledge that allowed him to acquire unusual pieces throughout his career, and he had carefully preserved his collection in a temperature-controlled safe for over 40 years. As Elizabeth inventoried the collection, she found a small group of modern era coins that the collector had apparently acquired through trading and networking in the 1990s. Among them was a 1995 D penny in an old-style PCGS holder that had been graded MS 67, but when Elizabeth examined the coin more carefully, she realized the grading standards had become much more refined since this coin was originally encapsulated. She submitted it for regrading, and the result was shocking. PCGS now graded it MS 70, absolutely perfect, the only perfect example of this extraordinary error combination known to exist. The coin's perfection was almost unbelievable considering the violent and chaotic minting process it had endured. Every detail was crisp and sharp despite the off-center strike. The lamination error had occurred in a way that was dramatic but didn't detract from the overall aesthetic appeal, and the double denomination strike showed clear elements of both the dime and penny designs without being muddy or unclear. It was a error masterpiece, a coin that represented the absolute pinnacle of what could go wrong at a mint facility while still producing something beautiful and collectible. When this MS 70 specimen was offered at auction in 2019, the numismatic world held its collective breath. Phone lines were jammed with bidders from around the globe. Wealthy collectors who had been priced out of acquiring ancient rarities saw this as their chance to own the finest example of a truly significant modern error, and when the final bid was recorded, the price had reached an astronomical $112 million, making it the third most valuable penny in existence and cementing the 1995 D error's place in numismatic history. Now, let's talk about what you need to look for when examining 1995 D pennies, because unlike the golden color of wrong planchet errors, these coins might not immediately stand out as unusual unless you know what to look for. First, check for any OFF center striking. This means Lincoln's portrait will be shifted toward one edge of the coin with a blank curved area visible on the opposite side. The off-center strike on valuable specimens is usually quite dramatic, with 20% to 40% of the design missing off one side. Next, look for any evidence of double images or overlapping designs. Use strong magnification and examine every part of the coin carefully. If you see what looks like Roosevelt's portrait mixed with Lincoln's, or if you see elements of a dime reverse like the torch mixed with the Lincoln Memorial, you've potentially found something incredibly valuable. Also check for lamination errors which appear as missing chunks of metal, curved flakes that have separated from the surface, or areas where the planchet looks like it's peeling apart in layers. These errors can be dramatic and obvious or subtle and easy to miss depending on their severity. Pay special attention to the edges of the coin as well. A proper broadstrike error will have edges that are different from normal pennies. They might be thicker, thinner, or irregularly shaped because the collar die that normally constrains and shapes the edge during striking wasn't functioning properly. Weight is also important to check. While most of these errors occurred on normal penny planchets, some specimens show weight variations that suggest planchet composition irregularities. Use a precise digital scale and compare any suspicious 1995 D pennies to the standard 2.5 gram weight. Any significant deviation could be meaningful, and don't forget to examine the coin under different lighting conditions. Sometimes error characteristics that are invisible under normal light become obvious when you use a bright LED or view the coin at different angles. The market impact of these three extraordinary pennies: the 2005 D worth $119 million, the 2015 D worth $125 million, and this 1995 D worth $112 million cannot be overstated. Together they have revolutionized modern numismatics and proven that contemporary coins can absolutely rival historical rarities in terms of value and collectability. They've inspired millions of people to start examining their pocket change. They've created new collectors who might never have considered the hobby otherwise, and they've generated countless stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary wealth in the most unexpected places. These coins represent hope, possibility, and the beautiful truth that fortune can appear anywhere at any time if you're paying attention. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through every penny you have. Check your change jars, your car cup holders, your couch cushions, that piggy bank in the closet, those rolls you got from the bank. Every single penny deserves a careful examination because any of these three varieties could be hiding in plain sight. Look for 2005 D pennies with wrong planchet errors and doubling. Search for 2015 D pennies with that distinctive golden color and tripling, and examine every 1995 D penny for off-center strikes and double denomination characteristics. Invest in a good jeweler's loupe, get a precise digital scale, and take your time because patience and attention to detail are what separate those who find these treasures from those who spend them unknowingly. The stories we've shared today aren't fairy tales or fantasies. They're real accounts of real people who found real fortune because they took the time to look closely at their coins. Marcus the middle school student, Rebecca the teacher, Patricia the retired nurse, Thomas the coin roll hunter, Carlos the bank teller, and Elizabeth the professional dealer. All of them had one thing in common: they noticed something unusual and took action. They didn't dismiss what they saw, they didn't assume it was worthless, they pursued authentication and verification, and their lives were transformed as a result. Your story could be next, your discovery could be the one that makes headlines, inspires others, and proves once again that miracles really do exist in the most ordinary places. Remember, the 2005 D. Lincoln penny worth $119 million with its wrong planchet and double die errors, the 2015 D. Lincoln penny worth $125 million with its golden Sacagawea planchet and triple die obverse, and this magnificent 1995 D. Lincoln penny worth $112 million with its off-center broadstrike, double denomination, and lamination errors. These three coins together represent over $356 million in numismatic value, and every single one of them started as a simple penny that could have easily been spent on candy or dropped in a parking lot. The only difference between a 1-cent coin and a $100 million treasure is knowledge and awareness, and now you have both. You know what to look for, you know why these coins are valuable, you know the stories of how they were discovered, and most importantly, you know that your chance to find one is absolutely real and absolutely possible. So go forth, examine every penny with new eyes, share this information with friends and family, and never again take your pocket change for granted, because somewhere out there, in someone's possession right now, are more specimens of these errors waiting to be discovered. The question is, will you be the one to find them? Will your life be the next one transformed by an incredible numismatic discovery? The answer depends entirely on whether you take action starting today. Check those pennies, trust your instincts, and remember that fortune favors not just the bold, but the observant, the curious, and the persistent. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies. Keep hunting, keep searching, and who knows, maybe the next video I make will be about your amazing discovery and how you became a multi-millionaire from a single penny. Until next time, this is the Coin Merchant reminding you that treasure is everywhere if you know where to look.